Thank you very much for taking the time to have your day to join us today. I say good morning and good afternoon. So wherever you are in the world, this is a global call. So this session today is an exciting opportunity for us to present on new solution on the Redshift platform OnDOMAIN. I'm Adrian Stacey and I'm the Vice President of Sales for Europe, Middle East and Africa. I'm going to be joined today by Engin Yilmaz, who is the Product Director at Redshift for OnDOMAIN. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be taking you through an introduction to OnDOMAIN and positioning of the technology. We'll show you the technology itself in terms of a demonstration, whilst also looking at the capabilities, types of competitors that we in our market, some key takeaways, and ultimately, what is the opportunity as partners within our Redshift partner program? What is the opportunity for you guys? So, sort of kicking off, I think as we know, sorry, bear with me a sec. As we know, the cyber threats are constantly evolving. Organizations need to future-proof themselves in order to make sure they're ready to deal with the next wave and the next type of threat, and they have the right technologies in order to deal with that problem. When we look at today's web, we certainly see that human-to-human phishing, spear phishing type of attacks. And this is really down to the fact that endpoint security has improved and it's focused that shift to social engineering. As we look forward into the future, we're going to see much more machine-to-machine complex attacks. There's a lot of technologies out there at the moment which are typically sort of AI-driven, very deep learning, sort of powerful language generators, which can be very interesting and used for very good types of technology. But in the same way where there's good, there's also bad. So when you think about a criminal organization, what makes sense for them in order to attack and to be profitable means scale and success. So how do they build the most amount of success, being highly relevant through targeted attacks at scale? And that's kind of where we see the future of this going. And to be honest, you don't need to be a criminal organization. The barrier to phishing attacks now has been dramatically lowered. The entry is pretty much non-existent. With access to a computer and the internet, just about anyone can register a domain name. And if an individual is lacking the technical gravitas to spin up a fraudulent site themselves, all you have to do is go into the dark web and buy phishing as a service for $20 a month or so. So it really is bringing the total, the entry to a phishing attack at ridiculously low cost. And obviously that's where we're seeing these relentless attacks. A phishing site goes live every 20 seconds. So that's 3 sites a minute designed to deceive, designed to infiltrate, designed to get information from organizations. So what do organizations do? Well, they look to their employees as one of the last lines of defenses, right? And without the right technology in place, without providing or servicing the right information, how can we expect employees to understand and see complex phishing attacks when many IT teams cannot find them themselves? So it's fundamentally flawed. So at Redshift, we believe email is the biggest problem. And let me just be clear, when I talk about email, I'm not talking about sort of just malicious attachments or anything like that. What I'm really talking about is impersonation. So CEO impersonation, CFO impersonation, fund transfer fraud, and ransomware all start with phishing and social engineering attacks. So we really see email in the form of exact domain impersonation, friendly form attacks, and also lookalike domains being as the 3 largest vectors and surface areas for attack. So 74% of spoofing attacks, are typically bypass the seg. And segs are good, but they're content driven and rules based. They're not authentication, and they're not designed in order to spot highly relevant, highly personalized, complex phishing attacks. So most of you, I hope, on this call will be familiar with OnDMARC. So OnDMARC is our exact domain impersonation attack solution. And ultimately, this is designed around locking your own personal or your company's domains down. So not only protecting yourselves and your organization, but you're also protecting your supply chain and your third parties by them not receiving fraudulent emails based upon your domain. The next surface area we see is that friendly form attack. So 49% of all business email compromised attacks result in spoofing of an individual's identity and in the display name. So, no doubt you've seen it, whether in your personal life or indeed and in your corporate mail. It's a very easy trick to do. Ultimately, we have a solution called OnINBOX. So OnINBOX is our inbound phishing solution that ultimately provides a security analyst in every email. OnINBOX provides indicators in every email to surface high level of detail and takes the guesswork out of emails to employees to whether or not they should be engaging in that email. Not only is it great from an end user education perspective, but also surfacing that information, but ultimately we give a huge amount of visibility into your organization's supply chain as well. So your customers' supply chain will show up exactly who in your organization are engaging with what organization. And it also gives you the ability to, at a very high level, to interrogate what their security posture is from an authentication perspective as well. But the main reason we're talking today is certainly around the lookalike and cousin domain attack. And this is probably the scariest area of growth that we've seen over the last 12, 18 months or so. So 269% increase in unique phishing sites have been detected between 2020 and 2021. And that is where our OnDOMAIN solution comes into effect. All of these technologies are ultimately underpinned by the Redshift platform. Now, I was going to take a few minutes just to talk about the Redshift platform because many of you, like I say, know OnDMARC, you may know OnINBOX, but ultimately you may not know what they're actually built upon. Okay, so before OnDMARC was created, Redshift actually created a highly scalable and secure platform. And when I say secure, it's ISO 27001 accredited. And the reason for doing this was we wanted to create a platform that could ingest and analyze millions and millions of data points that through AI and machine learning can take that information and turn it into usable information. And that's where we've really built our products upon. So when we look at the attack vectors that we support, so impersonation, phishing, brand abuse, supply chain compromise, and lookalike domains, we have created a shared service for all of our technologies in order to be able to learn from the data pools that they use, but also to share information between them as the platform is containerized as well. And it's interesting from a Redshift perspective because this is very unique to us. This actually gives us the ability to take that information and also react very quickly and be very agile when it comes to creating new solutions, products or services around the future threat vectors as well. So we've created a platform that can share information between these platforms and integrate between them as well. So OnDMARC, OnINBOX and OnDOMAIN can now be integrated with each other. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to Engin, Engin, if you can, I'll stop sharing my screen, but if you can then take us through OnDOMAIN, that'd be fantastic.
Sure thing. So, right, should be able to see my screen. Just log myself in. Okay, so for those of you familiar with OnDMARC, you'll notice there's a slightly new way of logging in. And we were provided, I guess, towards the end of last week and throughout this week, we are migrating everyone over to this new approach. It'll help realize some of the platform benefits that Adrian was just talking about. and give you a single login for all of your Redshift apps. So moving into OnDOMAIN. So continuing where Adrian left off, we've built this fairly recently. It GA'd about 3 weeks ago, so it's out in the market, and it does come available as with OnDMARC with a free trial, and I'll touch on that towards the end of what's included and what's not included. We built this very much with the IT or legal professional in mind, and it's to help them protect their domain perimeter and what lays beyond that. Now, OnDOMAIN's, I guess, high level sort of elevator pitch part is it rapidly uncovers legitimate domains, which may actually have been sort of long forgotten or have been created outside of the IT team's kind of knowing and knowledge. It also helps uncover people who might be abusing your brand, or worse, impersonating legitimate domains. And the typical purpose for that, as Adrian outlined, was either they're trying to steal money or they're trying to steal data. And in those cases, OnDOMAIN maps the evolving threat beyond the perimeter, collects the evidence, and rapidly initiates and completes the takedown process. Now, that's probably give you enough time to digest what's on the screen. So starting off here, this is where your domains would live. And if you are an OnDOMAIN customer, there's an API key that you can use to bring over your important domains over into this product. Now I've just put a couple here. Itala, the nice Finnish kind of homewares people, and Signal AI, another startup. No, just a startup. Adding a domain is fairly simple. I'm just going to put this one in and set it off to run. I can also bulk upload too, as you might expect, but I'm just going to add that one single domain. So generally, it'll take a few hours to start investigating this domain and start to bring back what it knows about it. But whilst I'm waiting for that, I can also add my company's logo in there as well. Now, when you add a logo, it's not necessarily linked to a domain. It's more the logo is linked to your account. So it's looking for the logos that you upload. And it uses a fairly sophisticated computer vision model in order to do that. But it's looking across for those logos across all of the domains that you've indicated as being important to you and the lookalikes therein. So adding a logo, just for the sake of completeness, add the Rivian logo, name it, and send it up there. Now that's going to take about 24 to 48 hours for the model to have gone away, learnt about this logo, and start to present it in my activity feed. Now, looking at my activity feed, obviously I can filter this by any of the lookalikes, any of the domains that I've added. So if I go back to my Finnish brand, Itala, so there are certain logos, so certain domains which it's picked up on, which are legitimately mine. I started with itala.com, but itala.finland is definitely one of mine. So I'll just add that to my domain list. Now, there are others in here that might actually cause me some concern. Now, it's looking across various parameters and scoring them based on risk. Is this domain that looks like my domain? Is it email ready? is it able to start heading off and trying to dupe my users? Does it have a web page? And if so, what is that web page? What is its IP reputation? What's the domain reputation? And importantly, has it picked up on any of those logos? And I know that Italy with this Taiwanese extension definitely isn't one of mine. So that's kind of given me cause for concern. And I can go and see why it actually looks like that. I can see what its email state is, and also get a view on its reputation. I'll be able to see the history of it too, and where there's a web page. Actually, there was actually a web page here earlier on, and it's been removed and replaced with this this blank. But if there was a logo on this web page, it would highlight the actual logo for me as well. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because if I perceive this particular website as a threat, well, I'm going to block it and I'm going to mark it as a threat. Marking as a threat moves it out of new and puts it in the threats column. That block piece is actually an integration with OnINBOX. So where OnINBOX identifies the risky in my email supply chain, i.e. those who don't have DMARC in a decent state. It also, OnINBOX also helps identify my users who are at risk. It also identifies their patterns of behavior with those people. And as Adrian says, it puts that the security professional in every email. So now that it's been marked as a threat, anytime anyone gets an email from itala.tw, their email will light up like a Christmas tree. And depending on the content of that email, it'll say, you absolutely should not interact with this email. And depending on its characteristics, the admin can write their own messages that may look along the lines of, I wouldn't do that if I were you. But now that it's marked as a threat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to mark this for takedown. So marking it for takedown also applies it in the takedown column. Now, depending on the level of evidence that you've actually got, takedowns can be exceptionally rapid. We had a customer just last week, and their OnDOMAIN had identified the lookalike, and whilst it wasn't email ready, there was a web page, and the web page had incorporated their logo. They're one of the crypto wallets, and if you've got to look in the trade press, it's hard to escape this as being the current most popular thing to go and fish. And I say, from a business point of view, I suppose the margins in phishing someone's ape tokens and their NFTs is probably exceptionally high. But OnDOMAIN has spotted the lookalike. It had noticed the logo. It got shipped out for takedown, and the combination of that plus the web page that was asking for people's credentials deemed it to be sufficient for takedown, and that came down in just a shade over an hour. And this was, the process. So there's the evidence that OnDOMAIN has collected, but you may have your own evidence too that you want to upload, and simple just drag and drop or browse for it. And this goes off to our takedown provider, because the chances of them having a strong relationship with the host and registrar is obviously greater than anyone on this particular call. But applying for takedown, there's a couple of different flavors to it. So there's that use case of the intent to commit fraud, so stealing money or data. That's fairly commoditized, and that one moves exceptionally quickly. A little more complex is brand and IP infringement, because you need to establish whose brand it is, what the infringement is, that they have no legitimate right to be using it, and that one takes a little bit longer. But when it comes to fraud, it's completely commoditized and can be achieved for £359 or $499. Pick your flavor of currency. I'm not actually going to trigger this flow off, but it's a simple case of applying for takedown. Once it's been classified as to what it is, there's one final step where you approve the takedown. However, you can pre-approve with us in the case of our crypto customer who literally wants things knocked down the second they stand up, and each to their own. There are different use cases that folks actually have, and that very much in a nutshell is OnDOMAIN. If I go back to domains, hasn't quite thought about itala.fi yet, but it has picked up on Rivian, and I can go and have a quick look at that and see what its current security posture is, as I'd expect, seeing as my brother works there, that everything is as it ought to be. So yeah, if there are any questions, I can see some in the Q&A. I'll stop sharing, and I will go and take a look at those.
Great, thanks, Engin. Let me share my screen again. Okay, excellent. So look, so I just want to spend some time talking about what we've just looked at. Okay, so look, OnDOMAIN is a solution that your customers can start with free trials or things like that, but ultimately the technology is there where they can upload their legitimate domains within a short period of time, understand exactly what either legitimate or illegitimate fraudulent domains are actually out there in the wild. Okay, and this is real-time information. So we've actually done a demo with an organization where we have set up a fraudulent domain whilst in the meeting and on the call, and then it's being picked up by OnDOMAIN. So this is very much real time. So not only does it give you the ability to understand what fraudulent domains are out there, but also legitimate domains. And don't be the amount of organizations I've spoken to that have no idea how many domains they have is not unusual. Okay, so for them to be able to understand how many subdomains are out there is very important. And actually, when we look around how we configure OnDMARC for customers and when they're utilizing the tool for themselves, the subdomains are typically the biggest area of risk and threat that the attackers are really going after. So when you put this into context in terms of how this fits with the overall Redshift piece, okay, obviously, we've got OnDMARC, that's fine. It's the domains about, securing the sending services and rejecting the malicious emails. This is an incredibly powerful tool where you can actually stop a phishing attack prior to it actually taking place. Because we see that where an organization or a criminal organization has set up a domain, we can see when they started adding an email sending service. We can see when they started, by the logo and brand asset detection that we have built into the solution, whether or not they're creating a fraudulent website based off of that. Okay, so this is really us trying to just get one step ahead of an organization suffering phishing attacks, and not only just to the organization that buys it, but also their ability to message to their supply chain about this risk as well. So some key bits of information here. Obviously, we do scan top-level domains, and we do scan subdomains. We also, I think it's pretty much market leading, analyze in excess of 150 million new domains and subdomains every single day in real time. And we also have like this integrated takedown service with OPSEC that we can provide. And as Engin also rightly pointed out, depending on the complexity of that takedown, it can happen as quickly as within an hour, or also sort of up to sort of 24 hours typically. So who else is in this marketplace with us? It's when we talk about OnDOMAIN, we are talking about sort of domain specific intelligence, okay? And there's a sort of a few players out in the market that you may come across. So Bolster, I would say, is probably one of the closest one to us. They monitor typically about 3,000 top level domains and about 2 million domains per day. So when you put that into the context of the 150 million or so or plus that we deliver, that we have a completely more holistic approach and visibility into the wild around where domains are being created. They also don't have any subdomain scanning, and it's very much a standalone solution. So it's not integrated, or it doesn't work with obviously with our platform, which would be in line with OnDMARC and OnINBOX. Mimecast do have a technology as well out there as well, and obviously most of you on this call will be very familiar with Mimecast. They don't do any subdomain scanning, which is, again, as I said, is a big area of risk, and where we see when we're configuring DMARC with our customers, many areas where they've been targeted, and also no logo detection. And I think it's very easy to sort of downplay the importance of that logo detection piece, particularly in retail markets, logistics, and also think about luxury goods. How often that brand is fraudulently used. So as you would expect, though, with the Mimecast solution, it does integrate with their email and web service. We also see Proofpoint in the marketplace as well. So very similar to Mimecast. They don't have any subdomain discovery. It's typically from what we've seen is not sold as a standalone solution. It's also tried to be sold as a sort of a bundled in more enterprise level solution with their secure email gateway service. And the final one, which we covered today, is just domain tools. They have no domain takedown service that's being offered. They have no brand logo detection, no subdomain scanning, and also no integration to a SIEM or SOAR technology, which OnDOMAIN does have. So, when we look at that sort of domain specific intelligence area, we are very much, I'd say, leading the field. And just to sort of put that into some of the key takeaways, I suppose, which is the key areas where we're seeing our customers asking for particular features mapped against some of those technologies. We are at the providing a higher level of capability and service to your potential customers. So some key takeaways. So domain and subdomain scanning in real time, that machine vision based brand detection that discovers illegitimate use of brand assets and logos is extremely powerful, particularly when discovering fraudulent websites, which could not necessarily be linked to a fraudulent or lookalike domain. They could still be a fraudulent website based on with a company's logo on that. We've partnered with industry leading specialists to provide a takedown service which is quick and effective, and typically can be done through a one-click process. And then when you also build into the fact that based on the campaign, based on the platform that we have and the integration with OnDOMAIN, OnINBOX, and OnDMARC, it makes a lot of sense for your existing OnDMARC customers. And that's where we're sort of going to the opportunity as well. So obviously, as partners within the Redsift Partner Program, we are always keen to support you guys with new technologies in order to to go and sell and to solve these problems for your customers. So with OnDOMAIN, you have the ability to go and upsell your OnDMARC customers and OnINBOX customers to OnDOMAIN. Typically, from a partner perspective, it's 3x revenue that we would have typically on the average deal size of an OnDMARC customer. So it's definitely a technology that is being asked for. And I'll share a story with you in a second. For deal registration, so obviously you should all be very familiar with the deal registration process. If you're not, please reach out to us and we can go through it. But ultimately, there's 30% deal registration discount on all approved deal registrations available. We also have demos and free trials available specifically for approved deal registrations that have a secured meeting date. So a mutual meeting where we can work with you guys and the customer in presenting this new technology. When we do look at the sort of domain takedown area and also sort of brand impersonation, we've seen traditionally that it's the threat intelligence vendors that have typically been offering this as a service, and an exceptionally pricey service as well. Typically it wouldn't be unusual to see contracts in the realms of hundreds of thousands of pounds. We believe that, along with Redsift's mission to democratize security, we can provide a low barrier entry for this level of product and service through obviously leveraging our AI and automation. So in the UK and for GBP, it's £8,000 for 2 legitimate domains to be added, $11,200 or €12,440 per annum for 2 legitimate domains, and that's how it's effectively how it's licensed. You would price it, and we would work with you on that, on how many legitimate domains the customer wants to secure and report on. In terms of how we move forward, look, we've got as it's just gone GA. We are pleased to say that we do have we've got all the relevant sales collateral to support you. We went through a few competitors a minute ago, but we have a very much detailed competitive battle cards for each one of those vendors and sort of beyond. We have all the sales collateral and email templates that could be enabled to put a very successful campaign in the box together to work with you. So I'd be very interested in working with every single partner on this call and how we can help you take the technology to market, but also assist in training yourselves and your teams as well. And that's my final point, is we have Partner Academy. Hopefully you guys are aware of this. So Partner Academy is our sort of online training and enablement platform, which enables you to go through self-sufficient training for OnDMARC, OnINBOX, and now also OnDOMAIN as well. So if you're not already set up on Partner Academy, please reach out to us. And I've put a couple of people's details on here for us to, just in case you're unaware of where to go for this kind of information. So Brian Westernedge is our Senior Director of Channels out in North America. So if you're a North American partner on this, please reach out to Brian. I will keep this email address up for a few minutes. In Europe, Middle East and Africa, that would be Harry Frearson, and who's part of my team. Harry's the EMEA Channel Manager. And for most people in Europe should know Harry by now, but if you don't, again, please do not hesitate to reach out. Also, in line with that campaign in a box, very keen to work with your marketing functions as well. So we have Kerry Featherstone, who's part of our global marketing team and is specifically responsible for global channel marketing within this. So with that in mind, I'm going to sort of open this up to Q&A.
Yeah, there's a few questions that have come in. They're all excellent. So I'll go with them in the order that they've come in for fairness. So the first is, can OnDOMAIN be used without using OnDMARC or OnINBOX? Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it can be. Of course, we'd like everyone to be using it in conjunction, because everything kind of adds to everything else. But if you visit the website, go to OnDOMAIN, you can start up a free trial there. And it's exactly as I showed you there. The two limitations are you can only add 2 domains to it. If you want to add or change them, obviously you're going to have to delete a domain or 2. And the other limitation is that you won't be able to initiate the takedown process, but it should be enough for folks to get going. In that OnDMARC and OnINBOX, I guess, integration, I've already touched on one of the OnINBOX pieces, but there's a few other things in the works. So OnINBOX has reporting and remediation. So we will take that a little bit further to both include within OnDOMAIN the weaker parts of your email supply chain or the customer's email supply chain, so that remediation rules of block this email immediately for the company if it happens to come from a lookalike with these characteristics. And then similarly in OnDMARC, if you've been to it recently, you'll see there's a new control panel, and it gives you various indicators and statuses around if you've got the dynamic services, dynamic DMARC, MTA or BIMI implemented or not. And we'll also give some insights there as well as to the number of lookalikes against a domain, and offer people the opportunity to start the trial. But in answer to the question, no, there's no requirement. It can be used completely standalone. The next question is, what is stopping you with this system of blocking legitimate sites that might just be your competitor? Well, the blocking part of it is at the moment marketing it as a threat within OnINBOX, so it gets that treatment in the email indicators and the traffic lights that are at the top of each email. But you wouldn't necessarily be blocking it. You could block receipt of emails, in the normal way, or use the remediation of OnINBOX to do that, or use the remediation as informed by OnDOMAIN. But you wouldn't necessarily be blocking your competitor. The next question. Could I instruct it? Okay, so my company is called Fortinet. Could I instruct it to block Fortinet? I think it's covered in the one above. Who will actually take down the fraudulent domain? At the moment, as Adrian said, that is OPSEC, but we will be opening it to a panel so that horses for courses. Some may, prove to be faster or better in different aspects, but so far OPSEC are absolutely fantastic at doing what they say they do on the tin. Can you explain the benefits of detecting subdomains? Yes. So let us say, for instance, one of our customers, the majority of their emails goes out from marketing dot, or similarly, you may have other services that have been set up. Again, it could be marketing dot, info dots, or whatever it happens to be. And those are just as equally open for abuse as anything else. There is a large bank in America that has exactly this problem. And one of the other pieces, roadmap-wise, that is internal at the moment, but will be in about a week's time, where we're extending the capability for domain asset discovery. So domains that actually belong to your organization that you may not be aware of will be included, and then you can decide how you wish to treat them. and if you want to add them to OnDMARC. Can we, as a partner of Redshift, have access to OnDOMAIN platform as we have with OnDMARC? Yes, that would be via the trial account process at the moment.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, absolutely. Look, you know, we're a big believer in partners utilising our technology, so there'd be no reason why you couldn't get a NFR version of that.
Must the logo be with BIMI? No, there's no requirement. So BIMI, as part of that verified mark certificate, requires, you know, certain things to be done. So it has to be your registered trademark. There's a process with notaries that verify you are who you say you are, and that trademark's ownership. With OnDOMAIN, the logo is, you know, whatever it is that you happen to upload to OnDOMAIN, and that's what it's going to learn, look for, and inform you about. There's a question on pricing. Well, I'll leave that for now, and I'll let Adrian take that. And then there's one that's come through on the chat. What happens if I request a takedown, but it's not possible? Am I still charged? Absolutely not. So in that flow that you saw, the process is that you'd apply for a takedown. You say, yes, you know, act on my behalf, take it down. We'll then classify it as fraud, somewhat commoditized, or brand. Brand is a bit more time and materials, depending on what's involved in the complexities of it. Though arguably that crypto wallet example I gave was fraud and a brand at the same time. But if the takedown is unsuccessful for whatever the reason is, you won't be charged for it at all. That would be just unfair, and I don't think anyone would like that very much. So, you know, we eat the you know, the cost of the classification and the process up to the point where you know, it's marked fraud and you want to take it down, or marked for brand and you want to take it down. And then the last question, it revolves around exchange rates and pricing, which I think you might have to take away and
I think I will
discuss.
maybe our pricing calculator isn't being very accurate. So no, I saw those questions, that has been noted, and I know who asked them, so I will double check and I shall reach out. But yeah,
it's a good question because it's been asked twice.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Okay, well, look, perfect timing, guys. So look, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Look, you will be contacted in your respective region, whether that be through Brian, Harry, myself, or Kerry, about, you know, feedback not only on this session but also the technology and how we can work together in terms of promoting this within our partnership. So yeah, look, just nothing more to say other than thank you very much for your time, really. Great. Thank you for joining.